Hello and welcome back, YouTubers. Today we are reviewing Bleach Dark Souls, a sequel to another game of Bleach on the DS. This is the second installment of the Bleach games on the DS, and the third one would be a completely different game from this one. These two, Dark Souls and the previous one, are side-scrolling fighting games. They are not the same as the tactical game that's the third installment. This game was developed by Treasure Co. Limited as well as published by Sega. The very well-known Sega does work on many games, but I rest assured, did a great work on this one. This is an earlier release in the series, being released October 7th, 2008, making it one of the earliest releases available for Bleach. It does include a number of interesting characters that you can use, such as Khan and Hiriko, I believe, the healer, the 4-seat that does turn up and does silly stuff, as well as Uritaki's little girl that hangs around him. So there are definitely some interesting characters to use. Also, you can use a Menos Grande, a Hollow, and a miniature Hollow used by the Hollow. So once more, there are plenty of characters to use. Even though the main characters are there, Byakuya, the obvious ones like Ichigo, Rukia, and Renji, they do include other ones like Kenpachi and Captain Konohamaru, as well as Toshin and Jin Ichimaru, as well as Aizen. So you definitely have your choices of playable characters. This would, I would definitely compare it to the Super Smash Brothers version of Bleach, even though it's nowhere nearly as great as that type of game. It definitely is a very, very fun game to use. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, what are those cards below in the bottom screen, and what's up with that S, P, A, B, C, and D? Well, the touchscreen controls are integrated, and they allow you to use your special moves and special attacks at the touch of a screen. You can activate Bankai, you can use your special moves like Heaven Shocking Lunar Fang, and the cards to the left also give you boosting abilities like boosted defense for a short time, such as 12 seconds, or boosted special powers, boosted Ritsu, and things like that. You have moves, standard moves from the show, like Flash Steps. You have all the standard things like Bankai and Shocky, and most of the characters are relatively fun and good to use. However, there are some that are absolutely a chore to use, like Hiraku and the teddy bear. They just aren't easy to use. So, in regards to unlocking everything, there's definitely a challenge. While you progress on the main storyline, you will be playing mainly as Ichigo only, and as you play through, you'll find that the canon of the story has changed slightly, but only slightly. It continues on with many of the references of the Bleach game, or Bleach show rather, and in the game you will note that many of these references, it is necessary to actually play the show to get them. However, it is not 100% needed. As you can see here, this current battle with Uritaki, the contest isn't to defeat your opponent, but rather gather as much candy as possible. So there are some silly side quests, and there are some very, very difficult battles up ahead. There are times where you'll be facing off with 3 Menos Grandes, and other times where you'll be facing off with 3 captains. It can be very, very difficult to defeat them, and stop them as well. But as you progress through the storyline, you will get more adept at your skills, and you will be better suited to take on these challenges later on down the road. Depending on which paths you take on the storyline depends on who you face. Sometimes you'll be facing off with Uritaki, other times Kenpachi, and sometimes a Menos Grande. Whether or not who you face off with doesn't really matter, but the fact remains that you do need to pass the level. There is no special skip option. There's no ability to skip over anything. If you can't beat the level, you're going to be stuck there for a minute. So the difficulty is there. If you just can't get past the level, you might want to switch over to an easier game mode rather than challenging it on normal or hard. But you know the unlocks are based upon difficulty, based upon what routes you take, and based upon the completion of the story rather than doing anything else. There are also special little trophies that you can get within the Nintendo DS game itself, such as the Sound Recording Studio, which allows you to listen to every person's voice stating a number of lines within the game, such as Ichigo stating Sega, or Udataki stating Sega, or Kenpachi stating Sega. Some of the Bankai moves are really, really good, while others kind of flounder, flop, and fail. Some impress, while others are some very, very difficult moves to use. Ichigo's Heaven Lunar Shocking Fang in his Bankai state is an excellent example of a balanced Bankai, while Kenpachi's is mainly and primarily focused on offense. Some of the other ones are vastly different as well, such as Renji's split-off Baboon Fang, and, you know, everyone's unique attacks and Bankai come into play when you're playing this game mode. Each section of the game, as you progress along the story, may be locked with a certain thing that you'll have to do first. At some points, you might have to defeat a certain someone first, rather than going straight ahead to the point that you actually want to challenge. Once defeating these people, you will get a key and gain entry to the next point. As far as I know, there are no espadas in this game yet, as it is an early game released in 2008, which is sort of a shame because it could probably have included Yami, Ulapor, and Grimjaw at least. But at any rate, it's still more Bleach, and it's a very solid fighting game for your Nintendo DS. So if you're craving more Bleach and you really are getting tired of that crappy Wii version that's out there, then this might be right up your alley. I spent many hours playing it while I was deployed, and I was thoroughly impressed with all the different characters that you can use, especially Jin, or Gin Ichimaru, however you would prefer to say his name. He is one of the more fun characters to use, to say the least. As you progress in the fighting game, you can kind of see that you can only use your red special moves when you build up a certain number of those white bars next to the timer. And there is also a timer to be mentioned. So if you think you can relax and take it easy on some levels, you might want to watch that timer, because there's a certain amount of things that you're going to need to be taken care of first before time runs out. Once more, the playable characters are diverse, and the movesets are usually balanced. Playing through the story mode is really limited to Ichigo, so you really won't have to worry about the balanced movesets in the story mode, and I do wish you could play against a different type of person in the story mode than just Ichigo. But hey, that's me. I don't know about anyone else out there. Personally, I truly wish you could play through the story mode with everyone, but, you know, what are you going to do? Overall, I found that this game was a really, really fun and exciting adventure to play through. A nice side story from the canon, as these Mod Soul chips, or these Mod Soul candies, these soul candies, have been you know, infused with these dark souls. And these dark souls are turning into hollows. And these hollows are attacking the Soul Society because, you know, they are these candies and they were supposed to do something. They were supposed to get rid of them, but they didn't because they didn't want to kill the Mod Souls. So, you know, the storyline is there, and even though it's not exactly of the canon, it's definitely a fun storyline to play through overall. You may find that the ending is not to your satisfaction, and you may have to play through the storyline a couple times to unlock the best endings available. Some of them are vastly difficult, and due to 3 special levels, you will have to play through the storyline more than 4 or 5 times to unlock everything that's available to you. I remember that you can only take one pathway at one time, so even after playing through it 4 to 5 times, you will still need to play through it 3 more times to unlock absolutely everything. difficult and a great challenge for a fighting game enthusiast. This game is not to be given to anyone who does not like fighting games, because more than likely they will not like it. The only problem I ever had with the DS is that the screen is rather small comparatively to most fighting games available, as they usually appear on individual console releases for television sets rather than handheld consoles, and then get ported over to the handheld. This is a specific handheld console only. So this is a much more difficult game to grasp together, and moving it around in your hands and holding the DS a certain way, it can really take its toll on your hands. So if you really don't like to hold your DS a lot, if you don't like messing around with it too much, then this probably isn't going to be a game that you would like to play that much. Again, this is only available on the Nintendo DS. And overall, I think it's an S-rated game. Personally, I would give it an S. I think it does everything perfectly. And the few shortcomings that I can only point out is the difficulty of it. It is a vastly superior fighting game to many fighting games that I've played in my life. And overall, it's a very challenging and difficult one. At some point in time, I was stuck on a certain level for a couple hours, but hey, I eventually got through them. It's Bleach Dark Souls, an S-ranked game, a #1 pickup for your Nintendo DS, so why not give it a try?